Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin from the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski of the Happiness and Success GPS. How you doing today, Chip?
I'm doing great. How about you, Eric?
Doing fantastic.
I'm doing a little bit of bird watching right now, which is a good thing to tie into our topic for the day.
Yeah. We're recording this the last week of February, but there's a lot of spring in the air here in New England. And did you know, being that this is the last week in February, that at this time of year, there is more stress and depression than at any other time during the year, at least in the United States?
I'm not surprised, although I would imagine that there's a little bit less this year because the weather hasn't been too bad.
Probably so. But yeah, that's exactly what it has to do with. Um, at this point, we've gone through most of winter. It's called seasonal disaffective disorder, and it's the lack of sunshine that helps cause the depression. And that in turn causes more stress. The stress aggravates the situation and it becomes an ongoing problem. Well, that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about today is dealing with that stress, whether it's from work, from family, from SAD. People deal with a lot more stress than ever before. And there are a lot more causes of stress. So, we're going to look at some of these causes and also how you can get rid of the stress and handle it so that it doesn't affect you as much, because stress has huge negative effects both mentally and physically.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the obviously stress affects your body as far as body aches, headaches, muscle tension, chest pains. I mean, it actually stress can cause you to get sick and stay sick. Obviously, it affects your mood. You have your anxiety. If you can't sleep, you're restless all the time, lack of motivation and things like that, feeling overwhelmed, irritability, and that kind of thing. And so that all affects the way you behave with things. So you get angry a lot. You may start abusing things and so on and so forth. So, I mean, it's all related. So this is a really, really important topic to talk about. And, one of the things that we both like to talk about as far as a way to handle it and to deal with it is mindfulness.
Yeah, mindfulness is a great way to deal with it. Um, and I want to clarify because a lot of people use mindfulness and meditation, as synonyms, and they're really not. Mindfulness is a type of meditation, but there are other types of meditation as well, transcendental meditation, and these are all great ways to deal with stress. Um, the basic difference between mindfulness and transcendental meditation, mindfulness is about being in the moment, not worrying about past or future. It's just being aware of yourself, your body, your emotions at that moment. Transcendental meditation is actually where you create a place. And this is essentially your safe spot. It's some place that relaxes you, some place where you can let yourself go. And with transcendental meditation, you train yourself to essentially mentally be able to go to this place and make yourself feel better.
Yeah, and the way that I look at mindfulness a lot, because we do talk a lot about present moment, which is all we have, and it's developing the habit of developing a little gap between your initial reaction to things and the way that you respond to things. So it's basically disciplining yourself not to let something negative get the best of you automatically. And if you can just discipline yourself to have a mindful response, which may be just silence or ignoring it, not saying anything, or turning it around to something positive, because we have talked about gratitude and maintaining things like that, which we'll get into a little bit more. But that simple discipline can eliminate some of the negative moments that you have during the day as far as the way that you respond to them and start relieving your stress that way. So it's really a momentary thing.
Yes, letting yourself take that moment, not reacting immediately, is a great way to keep yourself from getting stressed out. Because when something happens, you take that moment and you don't, it's not just about a moment and not reacting, like a snap, but it's also about taking that time to go, okay, you know what? This isn't that bad. We can handle this.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, there's other well-known methods to relieve stress. One of them is exercise. Obviously, if you can get out and just even just take a walk every day or do a little bit of exercise at home and get into that routine, that's automatically going to release your anti-stress hormones and that kind of thing. So it's the more that you exercise, the better off you're going to be. And obviously, that's something that you concentrate on. And while you're exercising, you're not concentrating on the stress.
All right. And a lot of people think, oh, well, I don't have time to go to a gym. I don't have time to work out. It doesn't have to be a whole workout. It doesn't even have to be a long walk. You can literally take 30 seconds, do a couple of push ups, 30 seconds, run in place, couple of jumping jacks. All of these things require no equipment, just really quick, a burst of energy to get, to help push that stress away. And what you'll find is that the more often you do that, the more often you'll actually want to do that. And of course, doing the three push-ups will turn into five, will turn into 10, will turn into 20, and eventually you'll actually have a whole workout put together. But every little bit that you can do helps. There is a great exercise called a plank, and essentially what this is, it's like doing a push-up except you're not pushing. You're taking the format and you're holding that form. And this is a lot harder than it sounds. So most people start by doing this for about 10 seconds. Then you can work your way up to 30 seconds, work your way up to a minute. But if you can do this for 30 seconds to a minute, that's it. You've actually given your core, your arms, and your legs a decent workout in just that minute.
Yeah, it
So it
actually is like a form of yoga.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to take a long time. It doesn't have to be very active. A plank you can literally do, on the floor next to your desk. You're not working up this great sweat, so you could do it at work and still, walk into a meeting afterwards. But these are little exercises that you can do. Um, and if you want to get a little more into it, there are some great exercise pieces of exercise equipment. One that I actually recommend is a tiny set of pedals, and they actually fit under your desk at work. And it's basically an exercise bicycle under your desk. So while you're working, you can actually be pedaling, and just something frustrates you, start pedal, take that, pedal it out.
Yeah, I mean, other forms of exercise could be just taking a walk out into the woods and in nature. Uh, Basically, if you surround yourself by calm things, you're going to relieve yourself too. And this could be a form of walking meditation. But if you get outside a little bit and just enjoy it, uh, that's really, really important. A fun type of exercise, which I haven't got caught doing it, but in fact, if you do want to do this, just do it by yourself in a room with nobody looking, is turn on music and dance. Dancing is a very, very good form
Yes.
of exercise, and it really, really keeps you going, and you have a lot of fun. I mean, while you're doing there, sitting there acting like an idiot dancing, you're going to be smiling and laughing at yourself. And laughing is another great way to relieve stress. So you're knocking off two things with one dance.
And there are all sorts of other physical activities that you can do. I mean, I love doing Tai Chi. Some people enjoy yoga. All of these things, particularly, Tai Chi, yoga, different forms of martial arts, combine the meditative state with exercise. So these are great ways to help, burst through your stress. And Chip just mentioned you're taking a walk outside. There are actually studies that have been done that show being out in nature is a natural stress reliever. So if you're in a place where there's a wooded area around a park, even in the middle of the city, you can always find parks, sitting areas, things like that. Get out, get outside, take deep breaths,
And
get a
focus on the scenery. If
yeah.
you're focusing on the scenery, it's going to clear your head of everything else. I mean, there is one of the most popular forms of meditation is walking meditation. For those of you who can't sit still and without your mind going 1,000 miles a minute, you could even do a walking meditation around your home, just looking at different things there. So just taking a slow step and breathing and noticing your feet and noticing the surroundings as opposed to having your mind be busy.
Right. And for those people that, have that problem stilling their mind, Lord knows I do.
Oh, me too.
there, there are all sorts of things you can use to distract yourself. There are little portable Zen gardens where you draw patterns in the sand. There are stress balls that you can squeeze and you focus on that. There are guided meditations that you can find on YouTube or Audible that you listen to what's being said. And because you're focusing on that, it sort of forces your mind out of its noisy place and you're listening to what's being said. So these are all different ways, to deal with the stress. But one of the best ways to handle stress is to avoid it in the first place. And to do that, you've got to be able to figure out what's causing your stress. And a lot of people don't really think about it. They go about their day and they'll have certain triggers that cause stress, but because they're not thinking about it, they run into these things over and over again. And actually, there was a study done not long ago that showed one of the largest creators of stress in today's world is actually social media.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Social media, the internet, in general. I mean, sometimes to relieve your stress, you go online and you start playing video games and this and that, whatever, and you may feel relaxed for a second, and then you're going to be twice as stressful once things start going wrong. So, that's something that you have to control in your life is what you're doing there.
Right. And so, social media has created stress on a number of levels. Um, the most common one is when you're scrolling through your news feed. People always try to put their best foot forward on social media or they let everything go. And both of these can cause stress to the people reading them. Because, on the one hand, if you're reading people's posts where they're complaining about everything, you're bombarded with negativity. And that can be people talking about what's going on in their lives, people talking about politics, people complaining about work. The topic is pretty much irrelevant. It's just whether or not they're spewing negativity. On the other end of the spectrum, social media has been shown to cause depression when you're reading about people talking about how great their lives are. Because you start comparing your life to theirs. You go, well, my life isn't going that well. Why isn't my life going that well? And it starts you on a cycle of stress and depression. And when you're looking at posts like that, you have to realize that they are only posting the best possible outcome. They're not they're not telling you the whole story. I've seen posts from people that I know very well, and I have actually had trouble putting together what I'm seeing them post with what I know is really going on in their lives.
Yeah, it is a tough thing to do to look at the social media, also watching the news, listening to the radio. I mean, if you want a surefire way to increase your stress levels, that's where you go. You go online, you'll turn on the 6 o'clock news, you turn on the radio, and you're going to hear that all the time. And that's why it's so important, which we've talked about a lot, to develop the perspective of a positive mindset. And if you can develop a positive mindset and realize that for every negative, there's a positive that overpowers that, it's very, very easy to do. And one of the greatest cures for stress is to just take out a sheet of paper and start a gratitude journal and just start writing down everything that you're grateful for, all the great things that are happening in your life, and go back to that the next time you see a post on Facebook or this or that or whatever. Positivity overpowers negativity every time. And you have to develop a practice of that. And building and maintaining a positive mindset is really, really an effort that you should put in. And once you do, it's really going to help you out a whole lot. And gratitude is the key for maintenance. Once you got it, you're going to automatically start looking at things and feeling gratitude. And gratitude overcomes negativity every single time.
Yeah, gratitude is another great way to beat stress. Um, Something along the same lines as a gratitude journal is to keep a running list of your accomplishments, things you've done that you're proud of. Because both the gratitude journal and the list of accomplishments, when you start feeling down, you can take these out as reminders.
Yeah, absolutely. The that list that you're talking about is what's called a victory log, which is just taking out a sheet of paper, writing down every accomplishment that you've had in your whole life. If you want to start back at your childhood, but if you write down all the great things that have happened to you, all of your accomplishments, the next time you're feeling down, you're going to have a list so long that it's going to take you a long time to read it because that's how much you have going for you and have had for your life.
Exactly. And again, we started talking about avoiding stressful situations. Don't pay attention to what's going on social media. And it's not easy to avoid certain things, especially depending on what you do for a living or what your hobbies are. Certain things are always around. Um, Chip mentioned, a huge source of stress can be the 6 o'clock news. And because I do radio shows where we're actually talking about current events in the news, I'm sort of caught in this thing where I can't just ignore all of it because I have to know what's going on to talk about it on the radio. But periodically, when I know I'm not going to be on the radio for a little while, when I know, I'm taking a vacation from that, I will take a week and just not turn on the news, not pay attention to it, and just take that time off away from these stressors. And that, I'm not going away somewhere, but I'm sort of creating my own little vacation where I am, even though I'm still at work. But that's also a big thing is vacation. There are I think they said there's something like, I don't remember the exact, there was a couple of million hours or a couple of million days rather of unused vacation time that Americans have and don't use. Take a vacation, even if you're not going somewhere. Take the days off, read a book, listen to music, create your own vacation where you're not dealing with all of this stress.
Yeah, as you were saying yourself, you were almost taking your own retreat from that by getting away from the news for a week. But one of the very, very positive benefits of planning a vacation is that you have something to look forward to between now and then. And being able to look forward to a vacation or looking forward to getting together with family and friends, which is another great way to eliminate stress, is to hang around people that you know and love. Uh, that's something that really, really is important. And yes, you have to take out your calendar and plan a vacation in there so that you do that.
Yeah, that's a great point. In fact, it actually made me think there was a line in the TV show Mad Men where they were talking about how hectic things were and what was going on. And one of the characters actually says, when I get like that, I pull out a calendar. When I look at the calendar, I realize there's almost always something to look forward to. And that's very important because looking forward to something gives you that motivation to, okay, yeah, I'm stressed right now, but hey, I've got that holiday coming up in 2 weeks, or I've got that party coming up that I'm really looking forward to, or I'm going to that concert. Whatever it is, having that to look forward to boosts your mood.
Absolutely. And on the other side of the coin, having that gratitude journal to record what happens while you're on the vacation is really, really important also. I know I've told this before when we've talked about other positive things, but for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been keeping the gratitude journal for myself in the form of a spreadsheet where all I do is put the days of the year down the left column and I just write something every single day that I'm grateful for or something great that happened. And it was only about 6 or 9 months ago that I said, okay, I have all this history here. All I'm doing is adding it to it every day. Why don't I just go back and read what happened? And it's just so cool to go back and look at all the different things that you've done on the same day in past years and so on and so forth. Things come back to mind that you've totally forgotten about. And it's also something that you realize, I mean, you got a great life going on. And the next time that you are getting down and you want to compare yourself to other people, which is one of the biggest things that happen when you are looking at social media, as you say, you're comparing somebody else is having a good time. At this moment, I'm not, so I'm upset. Positive mindset can help you raise your self-esteem just by working on that person in the mirror and realize that you got things that other people don't. And again, it's just the way that you look at things.
Exactly. And being able to look back on these things, creating memories. When those memories come back, the emotions that those memories are attached to also come back. I actually just had this happen yesterday. A friend of mine from college posted that it was her sister's birthday. Now, her sister is mentally challenged, and she always, wanted to take care of her. All of this. When she posted that it was her birthday, I remembered a story that she had told me about her sister, and I responded to her on social media that I just flashed on this story, and I, told her which story it was. She had forgotten about the story, and bringing back that memory, all of a sudden it was like, oh, yes, and she's laughing about it, and it brought back those emotions. So being able to remember these things, and sometimes it's important to associate things with a memory, a smell, a sound, because when that happens, when you smell that or hear that sound unexpectedly, it brings back that memory.
Yeah, most of the time when we're thinking about the past, we're dwelling in it and the bad things that have happened. And so it's really, really wonderful to automatically have something that you can go back on positive just because you're writing it down. And that's something you can go back to at any time. I mean, I start my day by writing like the gratitude journal for yesterday and then looking back at what's going on. But you can do this in the evening or whatever. But once you start doing that, it's right there for you and you can go back there anytime. And it's great to be able to think that you're going to remember everything as a human being, but we all know that we forget. So
Oh,
having it in
yes.
writing is very, very good.
Yes, memory is fallible. There's an old Chinese proverb: the faintest ink is better than the best memory. So you do want to, and that's something else, we're talking about wallowing in the past. It's about your perspective. When you look back at something that you wish didn't happen, maybe a tragedy, maybe just, something that was negative, it's important to remember that had that not happened, you would not be the person you are right now. Every experience that we have shapes who we are. And I was telling my wife a story about my great grandfather. Now, my great grandfather was not a successful man. He was not, he's looked at in my family as not even an intelligent man. But she made the comment that if he had not done what he did, we might have actually met in Connecticut rather than in New York where we did. And I told her, no, if he had not done what he did, I wouldn't be here because my parents would never have met. So even the things that are ridiculous and stupid and horrible, they all lead to things happening that shape who you are. And once you're happy with who you are, you can't get rid of any of those events because that's what made you you.
Absolutely. And again, it's so important to really take a look in the mirror and realize that that person there is really cool, and you are very unique. And the bottom line is we all have to work on our self-esteem because we are our own worst enemies, and most of the time we let negative self-esteem result from what other people think about us, or from watching the news, or from doing this. It's all self-inflicted. So you can self-inflict happiness on yourself too by developing a positive mindset.
Exactly. Your self image, your mood, you have so much more control over that than you give yourself credit for. And that helps deal with the stress. And that's something else. I said uh, to someone the other day, they were talking about, well, I'm always stressed out. We're always in these situations. It keeps happening over and over again. And I said, yes, these things keep happening over and over again. But I don't know why you're stressing about this because we always get through them. So you can focus on the stress part of it and, oh, this is difficult. I have to do this again. I have to deal with this. This is a problem. Or you can focus on the end going, yes, well, I've done this before. I've gotten through it before. I'll get through it again. And that helps you deal with that stress, knowing that, yes, you can handle it.
Absolutely. In Monty Python's words, always look on the bright side of life.
Exactly. All right, so we're actually coming up on the end of our time here. So, Chip, what do you think is a big takeaway for our listeners?
Well, stress is always going to be there, but the only thing that we have is the present moment. And how we respond to the events in the present moment is our choice. And if you can take some of the techniques that we talked about today so that you can have a positive response to the events that happen in life, it's going to help you out a whole lot. And one of the best is just to pause before you respond to something. Remember, reaction is just a feeling, response is an action. So if you can make those positive, you're going to be a whole lot more positive and have a lot less stress in your life.
Absolutely. I think for me, the big takeaway is that we can control the stress in our lives. Stress is how we're reacting to what goes on. So if you don't let it get to you, if you don't let the stress bother you, and focus on, okay, yes, I can get past this, I can do this, stay positive, and the stress will have a much less of an effect on you. And if you're in a situation that there is an external stressor causing this over and over again, get away from it, change your life because you have that power. You've been listening to the Success Showcase, and we're actually going to be taking a few weeks off and coming back with a brand new look and feel to the podcast. So we will see you when we return, and you will be able to catch us at xvadio.com/podcasts with all of our archives. You can also find us at the Apple Podcasts app, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. See you then.